speaking with Denis Deving and Kyle Sierens, co-founders of VidDay, a web app that since 2015 has been harnessing the power of video to revolutionize the gift and greeting card industries. The VidDay app makes it easy to collaborate with friends and family on a video montage to give as a gift for any special occasion. Especially relevant during COVID-19, where celebratory gatherings have been stalled, this video message platform allows you to share in someone's special day without the stress of chasing down files or having to spend hours editing a video montage yourself. They've in fact helped people in over 185 countries to stay connected and celebrate special occasions. This exciting tech business has been formed from the start with strong components of social enterprise. VidDay is an eco-friendly gifting solution that aims to give back to the world with every video. And today I have Denis and Kyle, who they themselves are really hoping that this gift giving while giving back to the world is especially relevant right now during COVID-19. And gentlemen, I'm so excited to have you on the show today, as you are in fact the last episode of season 2 of Start Podcast. So welcome.
Wow.
Yeah, raise the laugh track. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, you guys.
Thank you very much.
The cheer track.
Yeah, they're excited. They're excited in person. I can see it on their faces. So guys, let's get started. Tell us the story of how VidDay came to be.
That's a very good question. It's while traveling in South America, I was actually living in Colombia at the time. It was with a friend that she was in the tech scene as well. We always bounced ideas off. And then, we got into the concept of imagining receiving a video with everybody you love all at one time. And it just seemed like, that'd be amazing. And then since that day, we kind of bounced around some ideas. Then fast forward 2 years later, that concept in my mind just kept playing over and over. And I always thought, why does this not exist? And how would this play out, like every step, and deliver this to the world? So finally, one night, I just couldn't sleep anymore. I had to act on it. It checked off all the boxes in my head about being a good idea, the good it was doing, everything. I was just like, okay, so I had to act on it. And where do I start? I said, I'm going to make a surprise video for a best friend of mine. So I went off, invited friends to participate in a surprise birthday video, and went through the whole motion and saw how hard it was as well.
Yeah.
And but in the end, the video itself made my friend cry tears of joy, and he said it was the best gift he ever received. So I knew right then and there there was something that's truly special about it, which I was not even expecting that reaction at all. So I was like, wow, okay. So moving forward, I offered that service and did it for a wedding and then a retirement. And the same reaction happened. The feedback was, this is the best gift I've ever received, and the recipient cried tears of joy. So
and at this point, you're manually doing it all yourself, right? You're just seeing if the market's there.
Yes, manually for sure. And then I end up embarking on this vision of wanting to streamline the whole process to make it available for anyone and your grandma to make these videos, these surprise videos for anyone, for any special occasion. So that's where VidDay came to life.
Yeah, and that's such a good story. I love that little line you quickly said in there about how you thought about it so much for years that you ended up getting to a point where you couldn't sleep. You had to make it happen. Had you had other ideas in the past that you slept on that you thought were good? And how did they differ from this one? Like, what made this one stand out a little bit more in your mind?
I guess the idea that it was an app, an online company that could reach at a global scale, and that if this was to be a takeoff, then I would be able to work remotely as well. I always loved the idea of, I always had a passion for traveling. I really despised traffic hour. I always wanted to avoid the rat race. So one of this idea also was like, okay, this like again, checked off all the boxes, and then seeing the tears of joy and the good it had, and the creativity side of it. I love to illustrate. I always loved to create things. I guess I liked art a lot as well. So between business and art, this was just the perfect intersection that I just saw myself being passionate about the idea enough to jump in it.
Yeah. So it went from a lot of manual work to putting together a web app where now it does a lot of the work for you because you've got different technology that you're using to make that happen. And Kyle, who we've got here today, works on some of that tech. So we've got, the balance of brains here. But talk us through a little bit about the user experience now today when someone's using that web app.
Well, the user experience from way back was always, they probably thought it was automated.
Sure. So the experience they had was always easy.
For them was
Right.
But let's just say for many years it was not automated. There was components of the automation was iterated, or as we went along the way. And
in fact, as of just recently, most of those things still weren't automated.
Yeah.
But we're getting there.
Yeah. Evolution.
Definitely.
We can officially say that we are. So.
Yes. And it was from actually the user experience for them. They never saw what was going on in the background, but it was definitely, now it's very more interactive. They could actually interact with the media. They see the video submissions. They could edit it. They could delete. There's a lot more manipulation involved on the user end.
So if they want to be more involved and have more of a hand in it, they can.
Yes.
And if not, they want it to be automated by you guys, they can have the really easy option too.
Mm-hmm. That's right. But they have more of a, I guess they could see more what's going on and be excited about, oh, look, Uncle John recorded a video, and they can actually see it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. When it first started, people were emailing me. I'd create an email address. They'd send me in an inbox. They never knew who was submitting.
Who submitted, yeah.
I was the messenger, everything. It was totally a different ballgame. But
a lot
now,
of administration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that you mentioned in advance of the show today is that you want people to start focusing on who they have in their life and not what they have in life. And that was kind of something behind the idea. So I know now there's also a millennial trend in general toward experiences as opposed to purchasing stuff. Did that play into this, or has it played into this, that evolution of people really wanting the who and the experience to be more relevant in their lives? Have you seen maybe like more of an uptake over the last few years?
For the people who are like even personally trying to be more minimalistic, it just seems, and I find it more rewarding to have the friendships and relationships just seem to be a lot more rewarding than buying that thing. So I think in a general view, in the last few years, that has also been a trend to say, hey, like we don't need to buy things, that they put more value on
experience
and in relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what have each of your roles been from the start to now? And I'm curious if they've evolved over time as well, because you have a couple other co-founders too. So maybe you guys can speak to kind of that relationship amongst you all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess Denis wore all hats at one point, and then about 4 or 5 years ago, I had heard remnants of this fellow that I knew through people that was creating this thing, and then I thought, well, I might have skills to put towards it. At that point, I knew a few languages of code languages, and met up with Denis, and kind of figured like I can do quite a few things. I had my own business. I could probably build you code that works, that can automate most of this stuff. We kind of embarked on that journey, kind of like that, and the other fellows that were involved, Jeff Laxon, and recently a few more. But at that point, we were 3 people, and we all kind of wore all hats. We all kind of got together and would discuss what needed to be done, what had to happen in that aspect, and then we would just divide it and take it as bite-sized pieces for whatever size.
But so Denis, this was your kind of baby from the start, like your idea that you've been sleeping on for a few years. What was that experience like, bringing other people into the fold and having to kind of, bounce ideas of other people or relinquish maybe some of what the direction you thought it would go in? How did that feel at that point?
It was definitely a game changer and what I needed. From going from working on it alone and trying to even think of outsourcing some components, and I definitely wanted to grow the team. And I was, I guess, very picky on who do you want to be on your team. And then from getting Jeff Laxon on board, like I say, he has golden fingers. He's a graphic designer and good heart. Everything about it was a good match. Got him on board, Kyle as well. And it just, the momentum, you're just more motivated as well when you're bouncing off ideas. You're more than one head with, I say an idea, then we bounce off, or we realize that's a bad idea. But if I was alone making these decisions as well, everything about building your team is how we got so far here today as well. Just if it wasn't for the team, I probably would have almost, I don't like to say it, but quit a long time ago. Having a team aspect is where I'm very thankful of
Yeah, and that's a good anecdote. I think a lot of people, when they start a business, they do want to hold their cards a little bit tight, right? Because they have this great idea that they feel like if I share it with too many people, if I bring too many people in, it'll dilute what I'm doing. Your anecdote kind of tells you the opposite, right? But was it hard to make that decision between just bringing on people working for you that you could still bounce ideas off of versus making them actually considered as co-founders? Like, how did you make that decision?
It was never, I guess I never stressed about that title or co-founders or not. It wasn't like the big thing, really. It was just about building this.
Right.
And even the term co-founder, when I just started with all this idea, all the tech side of things, the business side of things, it was never about the title. I always just wanted to create something. And even today, every day, I learn more about like, I should probably know this stuff about tech or how this runs. But I'm just learning a lot every day. It's not... the co-founder thing it was never a thing of like, no, I'm the founder. I could have never done it without them. So for sure, co-founders is the way to go.
Yeah. Okay, good. Now let's go back to your introduction here when you were talking about the business, because you were in Colombia, you love to travel, and you were thinking about this idea of remote work appealing to you. But now we know from a lot of startup founders that when they start a business, the crazy long entrepreneurial days with no sleep are also very much a reality. So have you been able to truly achieve the experience of working remotely and traveling while also owning a business? Or do you think that's something that's yet to come?
It has been happening throughout the years. I've been able to escape many winters, and we've worked remotely a lot, and especially since January, we've seen an exponential growth and demand with VidDay that all of it actually was done, I guess, remotely. We could not be in the same room. So all this work, those very intense long hours, we were all alone from our own home. Yeah, we never saw each other.
I would say because we basically bootstrapped it for the last 3-ish years, it was very kind of like put the work in when you can kind of thing. But it was, if something had to get done, it was an all-nighter. If not, you could still be flexible in that sense. So I think it allowed us to do other things at the same time. Like I was still, my left foot was still in my other business, and I was trying to do all of my free time was either with family or VidDay, and that's.
Yeah. Now, what's the process of finding that balance been like, though, over the years? So you're saying you've had one foot in, one foot out. Did there come like a very obvious time when you were able to dive right in and then still travel and have this time off? Or does it feel like you're still learning how to achieve that?
Yeah, I mean, there's always change and learning and balance, figuring out balance and stuff. But I would say there was, I guess, just in March, a time where it was like, okay, this is happening. This is gonna be the thing, and let's go full on. So dissolve everything else and jump in. Both feet.
Absolutely. Kyle, talk about the process of developing an app. And maybe, Zini, you've got a different story from the very first day of developing an app. I think a lot of people have this idea that anyone can create an app, like that I could just pay someone and he'll make an app for me and it'll be great. Or they have an amazing idea for an app and they think it'll be $1 million idea, You guys have been through this process. So tell us about the reality of custom app development to a point where it really is like user-friendly and functioning and on its own.
Well, that's a loaded question, but I guess
we want the $1 million answer, Kyle.
In our specific scenario, I would think like Denis had started building an actual app, whereas we've shifted it into more of a web app so that it was more, for a multitude of reasons, accessible to all genres of people's abilities. Accessible to just basically an internet connection with a web browser. So that was a big struggle, I guess, or hurdle that we kind of had to figure out if we wanted to go one or the other. And the progression of the web as we see it now is like light speeds at full tilt. So there's a lot of things changing and happening and getting better for our sake of making that decision. So I think there's many aspects, like I said, but to grow with it, and it's easier when you're a small team, I guess, because I was the only coder at that one point. So Denis would get feedback and Jeff would get like this ideas and we'd bounce it off each other. And okay, customers are wanting this. Okay, well, basically I could pretty much build it and ship it out within that day. So that was a lot simpler to do back then. Now there's a bit more of a process and a lot more app behind it. So there's different tactics and stuff like that, but I kind of forget what your original
Yeah, it becomes harder. Well, so I was just asking a little bit about creating an app and like truly how hard it is, because I think a lot, like I was saying, a lot of people really have ideas for apps, but then they're not sure where to go or how to make them come to fruition.
There's a lot of aspects behind it. There's like authentication, security, just making sure that your data is, working as it should and flowing, and then there's all sorts of integrations. So when you're dealing with a web app, logging in with different Facebook or logging, and so there's authentication the needed between the two, and it gets pretty hairy fast, I'll say.
Yeah, and that's interesting. Tell us a little bit, what is the difference between an app and a web app? So a web app is online, an app is on your phone, but from the back end perspective, what made you guys decide to go the web app route instead? What was the benefit?
Benefit was mostly accessibility. So you don't need to have a specific type of phone to get an app, or we didn't need to build an Android app or build an iOS app or build
both to serve everybody.
Exactly, and a web app. So we decided to go the web app route, which is more accessible, like I said, and it helped us build a little bit faster, I would say, because we didn't need. At the beginning, I wasn't that inept to be able to produce a actual app. I had done some things in it, but it was like pretty rusty for me at that point.
Right. It didn't stop you from trying though, and from creating. So
exactly.
So Denis, from the start, you were doing some of that tech, but admittedly, like, have amazing team members now that are able to do a lot of this development for you. At the beginning, tell us about trying to figure out how to build tech.
Yeah, that was quite the journey and learning experience. Like, where do you start?
Yeah.
From that moment. So first, from just validating the idea, I pretended it was an app, create a website, and just pretend like we had this already happening. And then then I reached out locally, found people that are building apps, went and talked to them, trying to seek out some answers. And then it ended up looking to outsource some developing of an app. So it all started by doing wireframes and understanding, okay, so the login screen, they click on this button, then you have to design the whole flow and understand that. That's when also Jeff Laxton, we actually designed a beautiful mobile app, beautiful. And the first one was not as beautiful, but we started building it, pretty much scrapped the whole thing. Realized we were going the wrong direction, redid another one that today we look at it and we're like, we nailed it 5 years ago. Like, it's still beautiful. We started developing that, but we saw how by outsourcing it, the cost was running up so high, really fast. And just by a simple to say, okay, if we forgot to, what would happen if we hit back here? And if that wasn't part of the scope, every little button change, every little thing, it just adds up the bill. That's out of scope. So you just keep spending. And then there's the constant updating, the iterations. So if we had to outsource that from the beginning, we would have ran out of our runway. We would have had to find money. Wouldn't have been able to bootstrap it.
Right.
So the big game changer was when we had got Kyle to come involved, and we had in-house dev.
Right.
So then we were able to. It was a lot funner. You get to talk with your dev face to face, iterate on ideas, experiment, and the cost is a lot lower. But maybe not for him. A lot of sweat, equity, and blood. But it was in the end, that was the approach that really helped us to not run out of money and get deflated. We're like, hey, we were able to just build together, and it was create that excitement, which then we were able to bring on more people, and it just kept that momentum going, and the vision was there, and we got very excited along the way as we kept making people happy, and literally the tears of joy. We kept saying, okay, we got to keep going like this. It was one video a day even or one a week at one point, and then it was a couple of videos a day, but the feedback was always the same. And it was just like, hey guys, this person we don't know just cried tears of joy across the world. Like, this is super cool. And that's
we must be doing something right. Yeah.
Denis has been our cheerleader since day one. He's like, look at this look at this look at this reaction. Yeah. It's like, you guys got to check out this reaction video. And it's like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I would pick up the wins under our sail. Like, okay, let's keep going, guys. Look at these tears. So these reaction videos really hit. hit us at the core. Like it's very, very sweet. So if anybody has reaction videos, we love seeing them. Send them our way.
Yeah, perfect. And that's, it's so interesting when you are developing something with your customers in mind and with that reaction in mind, right? Because you can work backwards and kind of like develop something that is truly going to achieve that. What was the process like to actually get your first paying customers?
That one was putting a form on my website, adding a little pay button, and then that day I got a notification on my phone. I think I was in a kind of a boot camp. It was kind of a 3-day boot camp course hosted with Innovative Manitoba. I have to double check.
Innovate Manitoba was a thing, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then, I remember just being in that class trying to learn a bit more about how, if your business can you validate the concept and all that. But then I got a text saying, somebody purchased a VidDay, and it was in 90 days from now. Like 3 months is for a birthday in Calgary, someone in Calgary. And I was like, okay, I'm like, this is...
As you're trying to validate, you're getting the message saying you validated. Yeah.
It was right before a little pitch presentation. I remember saying like, 10 minutes ago, I got my first sale. And then I didn't get another sale for a month, but it was still the first day I got a sale.
Just takes that one, right? You just have to start. I'm curious how you guys deal with safety and security. And Kyle, you alluded to a little bit of this, like people have to access the app, they have to log in, and there's all these pieces to it. And then you have to have the security component. So you have a web app and it takes personal messages and videos from people all over the world. And with different countries, there are different rules about that, things like GDPR and stuff like that. What did you have to learn about this throughout the process?
A ton, and the fact that we needed another developer, not just myself. So that's when we kind of expanded our team with 2 other developers, Will and Greg, and they have been, mostly helping with that security aspect of things and making sure that our data is secured and that our app can't be technically infiltrated, that kind of thing. And so, just learning a lot and passing it over to, a few other dev friends and saying, hey, can you find any holes in this? Can you, because even the biggest tech companies get dinged once in a while. And it's just one of those ever changing, evolving things that you just got to keep an eye on and keep filling the holes if there's any. Yeah,
and as you're growing, it becomes more relevant, right? Like people aren't typically trying to ding the little guys because no one's watching, but as you're growing, especially even right now, I'm sure that's always something that's coming back into focus.
Definitely front of mind all the time is just kind of like, we can build and be, add all these special features and fun things, but we got to keep the I don't know, whatever, keep an eye on that all the time and just make sure that that's at bay.
How have you done a lot of that self-learning? Like, is it just Googling, talking to friends? Is there a good trick you can share with other people who might be going through that same process?
I think there's probably way better ways, but I would say that, in the dev community, online communities are fantastic. I try to give back to them as much as I can as well. I always like to think a candle doesn't lose its brightness by lighting another candle. So sharing your knowledge with somebody else is not going to hurt you. It's going to help somebody else, and they might be able to help you again later.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the mentality to take to that aspect of it. It's like, if I don't know the answer, somebody else probably does. And if I know the answer for someone else's question, I'm glad to help. Yeah,
we've done that a lot with the show since starting a podcast. It's kind of a thing that a lot of people are interested in these days. And so it's been a lot of conversations like that, trying to give back since we've been successful with Start Podcast.
You just share what you know, and it might be right, it might be not, but
try and help. So we're about to get into the speed round, you guys, but before we do, teach us something about the online gifting or greeting card industry that we likely don't know.
It's a tricky one.
even how big it is or where it's going.
Where it's going? Well, the trend is definitely people are moving away from traditional to more digital substitutes. And definitely the trending is, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's definitely a growing market. And right now we see that there are a lot of players that are getting involved. So we're not alone, but we're sticking to what we're doing, and we see the value, and how our approach is not really, how do you say, like the way we want to give back, and the way we're trying to really use our our platform to help other people, support other people. We're making it in a, how do you say it? But that's not the industry again. I avoided your question. Try that. Ask your question again.
Okay. We're about to get into the speed round, you guys. It's fine. Okay, we're about to get into the speed round, you guys. But before we do, teach us something about the online gifting or greeting card industry that we might not know, even maybe how big it is or where it's going, because this is a market that you guys are playing in, but a lot of people might not be familiar with what's happening in that industry.
Yeah, I think it's a very big industry. It has a lot of aspects, and I think the new digital age has shifted it into more of a video-oriented or digital kind of fashion, where before, for instance, when you used to get an invitation, it was a letter in the mail, and now it can be a letter through email. It can be through this. It can be a video from somebody.
Yeah, email invites to weddings and events now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then even so, like we've found people using our service for guest books at a wedding or whatever.
That's neat.
So, or for instance, my sister used it. I know it's a plug, but my sister used it for her wedding as a kind of the eye or our night or our day in the eyes of our guests.
Yeah.
So they created a VidDay, and they said, throughout the day, just give us messages, record certain parts of the pieces and of the day that we won't be able to partake in, but we know you're there because of us, and we want to see the celebration. And they kept that as a keepsake at the end, saying, this is what people did on our special day.
That would be so cool, and it's so easy for you to do. And the cost compared to like if you hired a videographer to capture those small moments, you can't even compare the cost.
Exactly, yeah.
It's not even a conversation.
So her photographer did still images,
sure, of course.
And then she just had this really cool video from everybody, and leading up to the weekend, it was a whole weekend thing. So yeah, turned out really good.
Wow, that's interesting.
But yeah, as far as the industry, I would say it's big. We're learning lots. I think there's lots to still do and to learn. But I think we're in the right direction, just keeping our focus ahead and knowing that we want to be very simple. We want to keep making people smile.
You bet. Okay, guys, speaking of smiling, let's see if you can smile your way through our speed round. So
right.
We're going to start right away and just jump in, whoever is ready first. Okay. Describe yourself in a word or two.
Okay, I'll go first. Energetic.
Active.
Active, yes. Describe your business in a word or two.
Fun.
Your business is probably quite meaningful to you.
Yeah, it's definitely sincere and meaningful.
Mm-hmm. What's the hardest part of starting a business?
Finding the time, making sure that you got your things in a row, but doing it. The hardest part is doing it.
Yeah, getting started.
Yeah, it's self-discipline, or it's not. It's no one's going to be telling you what to do. You have to get her done yourself.
Yeah.
Or find the answer. Find someone who knows the answer if you don't.
What do you suck at?
That's another loaded question.
Public speaking. That's the truth.
What do I suck at? Many things. I can't.
That's a hard question for you because he is a jack of all trades.
He's good. He's good at everything.
Good.
All right.
No.
At any point, have you ever truly considered giving up on entrepreneurial life?
No. No.
Shifting. I would say not giving up, just shifting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What keeps you up at night?
I drink a lot of water before going to bed.
Making sure that I am the best I could have been today.
What's the best advice you've ever received?
A job worth doing is a job worth doing right.
Very nice. Would be I like to say, keep swimming.
What's the best way for you guys to relax?
Maybe stretching with some soft music.
Nice.
Wilderness.
What's the toughest thing you've ever done?
Raise 2 children. And do a startup.
A startup. Building my cabin.
Oh, wow. What does innovation mean to you?
Rarely looking back.
Constantly iterating.
Yep. Guys, that's our speed round.
Okay.
That's it.
That's super fast.
You've done it. I know. We got to improve your speed here, guys, this time, okay? We're going to work on that together. Yeah. Okay, I always find it funny in the speed round when I ask your best advice, because I get it. It's hard. It's hard to right on the spot get that one. But sometimes we get key findings. Denis, just keep swimming. This is a reference from Finding Nemo or from somewhere else. Can you talk more about what that means in practice?
Well, with our team, as the very early days with Jeff and Kyle as well, we'd be long hours doing a lot of things and a full day just to do one little thing, like one little change. Or meanwhile, we're dealing with one customer, and but we keep having our eyes on the prize, or the vision is we're not there yet. So we just, after a long day of work or something, we just it was a kind of a word we say between each other, just like, or text, like, just keep swimming, just keep going, and eventually you'll find the island, I guess. And it's so, but till today, we still just say keep swimming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, we're going to change tune a little bit here. Let's talk about COVID-19. You guys had a business that was already relevant, because we know there's this online greeting card market, there's online gifting. So it was already something that was a trend that made sense of an industry for you to be in. But as COVID-19 hit, of course, in-person celebrations were really quelled and really shut down. And so you guys had an audience of people who still wanted to celebrate milestones, and VidDay could give them a way to do that. What did it mean for your business at that crux when COVID-19 sent everybody home?
While this was all happening, I didn't see it coming. Like, it was happening. We were growing just as slowly, and things were happening. We were getting customers that would come back. But next thing you know, we saw something, it was picking up. And meanwhile, I was out of the country working remotely. And we're like, well, things are getting busier and busier. Then we realized, okay, and then it dawned on us what was going on. And it was definitely accelerated the exposure of our services to the world. But what we realized is that there was the demand that people want to celebrate, but we were able to answer that provide a service that they could celebrate safely and digitally. And we realized we weren't ready for also all that traffic. So it was it was a learning curve. We had to learn and iterate really fast and grow the team. So it was kind of went away from your question there. I just went back. Went back in time there. And
in your mind with everything that happened. No, you answered perfectly. I mean, I'm curious, dig into that a little bit more. So COVID hits, your business starts to grow. What did you have to actually change? Like, did you actually have to change the tech to keep up with the demand? You hired people, like what kind of roles? Talk a bit about, like, that's, a lot to handle all at the same time.
Yeah, I think, like, we were lucky that happenstance we had an app that was, developed enough that we could accept all this traffic and stuff. But as far as like handling all that media and stuff, it was something that we never really thought of to that extent. And at that point we had to really buckle our shoes, and that's when I would call phase 2 of sleepless nights came in, where you're waking up every hour just to check on the servers and just making sure that nothing's crashing.
Oof, yeah.
And then
that was your third baby, Kyle. That's why you had to get up in the middle of the night. Yeah,
exactly. Like I was bottle feeding again. But, and it was just like it was full on. It was really. I'm actually blessed that I feel that I got to be part of something like that. That was really fun, and now that I get to look back at it, but it was a thrill.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yes, there was lots of stuff we had to update and improve on, and we had to consult with some really high tech people. AWS had a good Amazon Web Services.
Mm-hmm.
They really helped us through a lot of those tight spots. So we have to be thankful for that. They kind of guided us in some direction, and I think all of us together just kind of really came to it.
the team definitely got together and we had to do what we had to do. We had also a nice addition, Ross Abourin. He came from Skip, working at Skip when they were just a couple dozen people, and left when they were a couple thousand people. So he's seen
that kind of growth.
And for him to have come on board during that time as well it was perfect timing. He
was our beacon in a lot of times.
What kind of role was Ross in?
He was able to bridge the gap of understanding, like, okay, like this is how when growth happens at this level,
this is what happens next. Let's be ready for it, and that kind of stuff. So he was like I said, a beacon in a lot of our decision making and a lot of our guidance of like, okay, we know this is happening, but how do we get through this?
So business intelligence and looking at the numbers, and it was great. It was perfect. We were already in communication with him before all this happened. And then just so happened to be that he was in our corner at the right time as well. And again, one of those guys that had checked off all the boxes, like everybody on the team, that just had his heart's the right place, the ethics, the value, wanting to build something that was doing good in the world. And just we had him on the team, and since then, all of us just in sync, just been doing it.
If you didn't have a Russ on the team, what are some of those new things you would have had to learn, or what are things that he's even had to walk you through, but you still had to really learn, like just since COVID, since that growth?
But one would be hiring employees. Like we were just hiring like internally as partners, founders, and that's different.
You were just the core at that time.
Yeah, and then really learning the labor laws or how you have to do payroll, understanding contractors, the difference between contractors and employees. There's a lot of things that we didn't have to jump into that we could have learned maybe through 3 years, but we've learned it in 3 months. From legal matters to, it was a lot. On my end, that was one of the big things. How do we had to train essentially over 60 independent video wizards at a time.
60?
Yes, and how do you track them, people making videos and tracking how do you pay them. So building a quick system that we could handle and communicate with all of them. So Ross helped to do that.
You went from a core team to over 60 people who were just doing that piece of it, some tech like adaptation of the videos.
For contracting at that component.
And plus customer service help that you needed.
Then we built the customer support. We were doing customer support every day.
We were all doing customer support until kind of that growth, and then we kind of had to say, okay, we had to take some hats off and put bigger hats on in certain areas and be like, I have to focus here.
Yeah, you can't stop watching the overarching.
So, and then that like I really had nothing to do with those video wizards. I just would hear back with any problems that they had kind of thing. And I would bring that to the tech team and say, okay, this is an issue or this is a bug or whatever. And then get that pushed out as fast as possible so that they can continue and that the customers were in the end happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big learning curve, you guys.
Yeah,
so you're are you still in it today? Do you still feel like you're in hot water a little bit? Because, we're still going. People are still at home, most people, and celebrating remotely.
I would say that the water has become a nice warm instead of boiling.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
So, I think we're still definitely learning, definitely trying to find more people to add to the team where we can find
key players.
Yeah, key players and just keep it moving.
Yeah. And now it's amazing to me that you guys have used this platform to do so much good at the same time. And even during COVID-19, when things were super busy, you didn't take that hat off of and I kind of mentioned this in your bio, of really starting as kind of a social enterprise. Like, you've tried to give back to the community in many different ways throughout this process. During COVID-19, I understand you were doing free get well videos for people. So tell me a little bit about why it was so important for you to always give back to the community, and a little bit about some of the specific initiatives too.
All right. Well, the Get Well videos, the free Get Well videos, we were actually doing that before COVID time. It was just something we saw that we could provide. We saw the positive feedback that people that received these videos would get, and we're like, hey, more people should receive these. Let's break down that barrier of entry, so give that for free. So that was something we always did even before. And then our initiative in 2019 was gifting a school kit to a kid in need for every video. So that was exciting. We used to be like, we're giving a few school kits a day. Then, we're giving 10 school kits a day. And then it started, as we started growing, and after in the new year, we kind of just lost track of every school kit just accumulated to a lot, too many school kits that when we came to present it to the foundation, we had too many, so that actually translated into helping for building the school. We were able to commit to we're building the classroom, the electrical supply, the water supply, the sanitary washroom, the textbooks, the furniture. So it went from beyond just school kits. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah,
so
that was fun.
Yeah, able to give that. And then we're like, okay, we did our VidDay school help. Now we're trying to do a VidDay forest.
Who else can we help?
Yeah. So we switch gears to planting trees per video. So now with every video made, we plant a tree. We partnered up with One Tree Planted. It's an organization, and you could sign up with them, and $1 per video or $1 per every, however you want to create that collaboration. But we did one video is one tree, and right now we've planted over 18,000 trees. And we picked instead of picking one place in the world, we're doing California, the Amazon, Australia, and British Columbia.
Yeah.
So we're kind of wanting to build
a few forests in a few different countries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that feels good. And those are things we don't see right away, but then we look at, then we go to bed with a bigger smile. That's definitely, it feels good to know that. And then looking back, we'll build our little giving back portfolio internally, and I feel like I could look back on life and just say okay,
that you did something.
Yeah, a bigger impact than just the tech itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
it's amazing when you have that anecdote and you have the after where you can look back and see how many people. But I think it's probably hard for a lot of people to start day one and say, I'm going to instill this in my business right from the beginning, especially when profits are really low, right? Like, it's one thing now when you've got thousands of users and you're seeing this small piece take in, but it's really hard to day one when profits are low to say, this is something that we're going to do. Where did that come from for you? Was that something that, your family instilled in you, or where did you get that from?
Yeah, I guess I'd have to thank my parents. My mom being an angel on earth, she was always giving back. And one part of, and through reading and just hearing back from people, they always say the effect you have on others is the most valuable currency you could have. So just really, how can I build something that I know that it's giving back in a way more than beyond yourself. So we started giving $1 before we were making $1. And I forget what book, but it pretty much is if you're going to do it, it has to be from the start. Because if we didn't do it, it would have been a lot harder now. But it was something we wanted to do from the beginning, which at that point, we never looked back. But definitely we hear a different side of the story, the coin of, well, it's not the capitalist side of things is we should be technically reinvesting in our startup. We could be putting that into growth. But right now, if I tell myself, if that $1 per video is going to make or break us, then we're not good enough. So we're challenging ourselves to say, let's make this company and do good and give back at the same time. And and we've been doing it. So we're not going to stop, since our mission is to make 1 billion people smile. It's VidDay's mission, and we have a long way to go, but we're definitely on the right path right now. It's happening.
Well, I applaud you for that. Congratulations on doing that from the beginning, because, like we said, that's hard to do. And you guys are really breathing it and living it every day. So that's awesome. Now, you've had some famous celebrities, some Hall of Fame athletes, some high-profile politicians who have all used your app. What's that like? And how do you think you got their attention to use your product?
I think I don't know if it was attention necessarily, but I think we got the attention of whoever invited them to partake. And I think, when we discover who kind of uses our platform, sometimes it's pretty cool. It's
pure luck too. Sometimes.
We don't see every clip, every video that runs through, but it's pretty fun to see. Wow, that's cool. I watch them on TV, or I watch, and now they're using my product. And they don't know it's my product, but
yeah, of course, yeah. That's exciting. Now, Denis and Kyle, the journey that you've really been painting so far in the conversation with us today relies on some pretty big entrepreneurial skills, trusting your gut, pushing through different iterations of technology and things like that. But I know that you also acknowledge learning and growing as being really important, but how have you made a trend of doing that? It's a tough question. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For me, it's surrounding myself with people that are smarter than me, or just always wanting to learn that and never be scared to ask a question. And again, that goes from finding a mentor or some people that have done it. Just ask questions. And a lot of people have got a lot of little gold snippets from people without them knowing, or I didn't know at the time, but that they told me something and it sticked with me, and that just helps. The more you talk to people, it does help, but you can't get distracted either. So it's just a fine line.
Yeah, because everyone will give you advice if you ask too much, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I grew up that motto that I said earlier: a job worth doing is a job worth doing right. That's my parents that gave me that, and I put that kind of into anything I do. And if there's something that I don't know or kind of I seek to know the answer. So I guess that's kind of an entrepreneurial thing, but.
Yeah, totally. What about certain personality traits? Are there certain ones that you think have gotten you through, or are there ones that you see in other people that you think, oh, I wish I had that because it'd make my life a lot easier in the entrepreneurial life?
Workaholic, maybe?
Do you have that?
A bit, yeah.
Well, I know you work very hard too in long hours. Would you say the same about yourself?
Yes.
I don't consider it work, though. That's the thing.
Okay, sure. Yeah. When you're doing something you love.
Yeah. It's definitely like our building VidDay as well has a lot of reward. It's rewarding. It's not the feedback. You're dealing with emotions, with people, with connections. You see videos, the customers that you hear a bunch of stories, from the get well videos to seeing all these kids saying thank you to their teachers, to watching videos that are not, you don't understand one word. It's because none of it's in English, but the whole other countries are using our application. That it's like, wow, and I don't even know what they're saying, and people are so creative. There's the amount of things I've seen I can't share, but it's just there's a lot of beautiful things, but it's all private as well. But it just creates a lot of
it sheds a new light on the work that you're doing. I think it kind of
makes it fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, speaking of, these videos from all over the world and how fun that is to see, let's pull it back to where you guys actually are, because you're in the prairies building this tech business that is being used in 185 countries plus at this point. So, but what has it meant to be part of the Prairie ecosystem?
I think we're kind of just getting our feet wet there too. I mean, I know there's some bigger players from the prairies that have done really well, and we want to follow their footsteps in a way and be part of this community as well, and I think it's an easy community to be part of to begin with, and I think lots of benefits to being out here. The internet has given us the world essentially. So
I'd say the cold winters too help you hunker down and work harder too.
Work hard, yeah.
It's either you're in a rock band or you're coding.
Yeah, totally. Do you have advice for anyone starting a business in the prairies? I know you guys have accessed a few startup programs too over the years, from the very beginning, stuff like the Eureka Project, to now things like different funding grants and small things. You guys haven't done too many, but things like Futurepreneur or the CSB grant. So what have some of those programs done for you? Is there any advice that you'd have around accessing those?
I guess when it comes to these startup communities and stuff, that's sometimes where even if you don't use the grants or the programs, it's who you meet along the way. That's what it started, where I met some people that had a similar. They're on their own path of creating an app or their own business. So by meeting them and bouncing off ideas, I think that was probably the most rewarding at the part, especially when you're starting. You don't know where to look and start. Go find people that are trying to do something in the same space as you, and it helps you kind of point in the right direction.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I know sometimes even with some of the projects I've been involved in, people say, well, you've done this, right? It's like something you haven't done. And the thing they're suggesting, it's like to them one of the first things they did. And it can propel you forward so far. And it's just a casual conversation. Like, it doesn't need to be formal mentorship. It doesn't need to be, part of the grant program like you're suggesting. It can just be like being part of that community, being around people who have different things that come automatically to mind than what you would suggest, or what you'd been through so far. So that's definitely good advice.
But I'd like to add also that it's important to just not go to keep going to these events and talking about it. You gotta get that idea or get that advice. Again, then go to work. It's better to go find work on your customers, and not just the talking is one part of it, but
implementation.
At the beginning, the early stage, it's all about getting those customers and talk to your customers. Those are the most important people.
That's the feedback that ultimately matters the most.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, when you're creating the different iterations. Okay, so that said, what would you do differently if you started again?
I would develop a mobile app to start. But no, that twice. But no, that was
not twice.
No,
yeah.
but actually, that was by doing that. That's how I met Kyle on the second iteration of. It's funny. It's exactly. Failing actually helps you open your eyes to the next step. So, I wouldn't say if I could go back.
I would say, yeah, do it a while ago. Mm-hmm. Do it when you have the idea. Don't wait on it.
Yeah, that's good advice. So, you guys, what is next for VidDay? What's next for the two of you?
We're gonna keep swimming.
You're gonna keep swimming. I love it.
It's growing the team, and we're hiring. We're looking to find more local talent as well. So it's a very, very exciting time. So that's something that we're if you have some technical skills that you think you'd like to join the team, you reach out to us, and we're happy to hear what you could offer, because what we're doing is we are in the growth stage as well, and we're gonna go make 1 billion people smile, and so we need more people on the team
to be a part of that. Yeah. So if someone is looking at if someone is looking to find some of your postings, where might they go?
They could go on our website and
Careers page.
At vidday.com.
Correct.
That's correct.
Awesome. And you guys, we love to have our guests share resources with our listeners at the end here. So will you please share with us, what are you reading? What are you streaming? If someone wants to learn about the market you're in or the tech that you're developing, what resources have you used?
Man. I find Gary Vee is a very funny fella to listen to. A lot of what he says is true. A lot of it's just chirping, but yeah, a lot of the things he says is worthwhile taking home. Other than that, yeah, just motivational. I don't know. You send me some. Denise sends me off in these motivational. Here, listen to this kind of thing. Those are good.
Do you have a go-to, Denise?
Most recently, I guess that's one thing with working on a startup or entrepreneurial. You go into this mind stage that you could easily shift. You have great days, but then sometimes your mind could go in a roller coaster. But it's about starting your day in the right space. And as cheesy as it sounds, those random motivational videos, I've put some on. Sometimes I don't even listen. It's just playing in the background, and something picks up, and it just kind of puts me back on the right track. But I think right now, there's an app called Motivation, I think, but there's probably there's hundreds of them. But something, if you find whether it's reading quotes or something that puts you in the place where it speaks to you more than the words, but you could channel in that energy, okay, put your mind back in that headspace, and then it helps me get back to it.
Yeah, I find the best is it sparks that place in your brain that encourages you to get on whatever track you were meant to be on. I find I can use some of those quotes sometimes and think of 10 new tasks I should be doing with the show, and it came from one quote, and you're like, where was that part of my brain that just opened up? But it really does work.
It's relevant to you at that time.
Totally, yeah. Okay, you guys, what's the best way to learn more about VidDay or get in contact with you?
VidDay.com.
VidDay.com, and we have an amazing customer care specialist team that right now, I think they're 19 hours a day they're on. And you could, if you have any questions about VidDay, you could reach out to them. And then you could ask for one of us, and we could reach out as well. But you can find us on our social media, on Facebook, Instagram. And we got some very exciting things around the corner, some fun stuff. And so follow us and stay updated, and don't hesitate to surprise a loved one with a video gift. You will not regret it. It's definitely the gift to give right now.
Yeah, you're going to get those tears like you guys have been talking about.
If you're looking for that shock value or the hero feeling, that's a good way to do it.
Yep, I'm very excited. It's my grandparents' 60th wedding anniversary in a couple weeks, and we've already got one underway here, and we're really excited to use it because we were supposed to have a huge party with family from across Canada coming, and we can't do it anymore. So VidDay it is, and if anyone's looking for that, it's spelled VIDDAY if you're only just tuning in and listening. So vid like the beginning of video, and day. Easy enough. VidDay.com. Thanks, you guys, for coming on the show.
Thanks, Margo.
Thank you, Margo.
Thanks for watching. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment below. Also, find us at startpodcast.ca for full show notes and to really get to know all of our guests and join our email list so you never miss an episode. You can also chat with us on social media at Start Podcast or find me at Margo A. Miller. For now, thanks for watching.